Episode 431. The Battle Mage unleashed a double stab, a falling flower palm, and a circle swing. With each skill, swirling elemental magic patterns danced through the air. A kaleidoscope of colors spiraled and flew from the war spear, a dazzling, beautiful spectacle. As for Du Ming, he was utterly helpless against these attacks. This was the brilliance of the Vanishing Step. It allowed the user to hide in the opponent's blind spot while they were launched and strike from there. Even though Du Ming knew he was about to be attacked, he couldn't see the source, leaving him unable to make the right call. Several low-level skills hit him in quick succession, and he was finally knocked to the ground by a circle swing. Multiple spinning patterns exploded across his Blade Master's body, instantly shaving off a chunk of his health.
Just who the hell is this guy?
A flicker of fear shot through Du Ming's mind. The Vanishing Step was no ordinary technique. It required a solid foundation of experience. Without a deep study and understanding of glory, one could never master it to such a flawless degree. It was still too early for Du Ming to judge just how skilled this challenger was with the Vanishing Step. But at least twice now, I've completely fallen for his Vanishing Step. If this wasn't just a lucky fluke, but something this person could actually control at will, then their mastery of the Vanishing Step would be truly terrifying. The last opponent was a rookie who couldn't even use high-level skills. Now, it's a seasoned expert who can use Vanishing Step against a pro player. I absolutely cannot let my guard down. Du Ming's focus sharpened. This was still just an exhibition match for the All-Star Weekend, but after everything that had happened, he absolutely could not afford to lose. He quickly input a command. The Blade Master, who had been thrown flat on the ground, performed a backward somersault and sprang to his feet. But instead of immediately pressing the attack, he retreated, executing 2 consecutive backward jumps. This retreat looked more like a full-on flight, an outright evasion. Du Ming knew this was a bit humiliating. He could already hear a few scattered boos, but running away was still better than losing. Du Ming had come to a deep realization. This challenger before him was no simple opponent, and certainly not the ordinary player everyone had imagined. Without first gauging the opponent's depth, launching a preemptive attack is undoubtedly a reckless move. Du Ming was known as a berserker, but the berserk referred to his aggressive, unrestrained style, not to any arrogance on his part. Du Ming knew full well that he was only a mid to upper tier player in the professional circle. In a game as widely popular as Glory, it was entirely possible there were players out there who could reach a professional level. When fighting Tang Rou, Du Ming had brought his full professional level skill to bear. But now, facing this challenger, he felt even greater pressure. Relying on technique alone, he was no longer confident. He was even starting to use tactics now. The best tactical choice right now was to fall back, avoid the opponent's momentum, and regain control of the situation. After Du Ming made this move, he earned some scorn from the audience. Many players had limited skill. A high-level technique like the Vanishing Step, even professional players sometimes couldn't tell if a movement pattern contained it, unless they were the ones in the match themselves. The pro players present could make that call precisely because they were watching the match live. From the multiple angles on the electronic display screens, they had reached this conclusion. If they were just watching the holographic projection, it's hard to say if they'd have noticed. As some boos rose from the audience, the expressions of the pro players grew increasingly grave. Like Du Ming, they too sensed this challenger was no pushover. Some of them even began glancing around, suspecting that one of the pros might have slipped away to join the casual match. A quick scan of the room confirmed it. Every pro player was sitting properly with their own team. No one was missing, except for Du Ming. So where will this battle go from here? As the crowd watched, Du Ming chose to retreat first, but his opponent, the second challenger, a battle mage, immediately and decisively charged forward. With a flick of his battle spear, he unleashed another dragon tooth. This guy, who clearly wasn't a rookie, was just like that newbie beauty earlier, only using these low-level skills. However, some Battle Mage pros were starting to notice that this Battle Mage's skill point allocation seemed rather haphazard. It was probably because that newbie beauty didn't know any high-level skills, so he'd maxed out all the familiar low-level ones, and since he'd never seen or used the high-level skills, he'd just thrown points into them at random. Leveling up a skill isn't just about chasing raw damage. The stat boosts from higher ranks go beyond that. Take the most basic skill, Sky Strike, for example. The higher its level, the better its launched effect. Almost no one puts points into this skill for the minor damage boost at higher levels. They're all chasing the better launch effect. But for pro players at that level, the differences become even more minute. The required height of a launch varies depending on a player's individual style and skill level. Some might find the launch effect of a 7th level Sky Strike sufficient, while others feel even a 9th or 10th level isn't enough. In short, the higher your skill level, the more details you can perceive. And this battle mage here, when it comes to low-level skills, whether they're attack skills or magic runes, there's no picking and choosing. They're all maxed out. While pro players don't allocate skill points based on damage alone, higher skill levels inevitably mean greater damage output. Even these maxed out low-tier skills in the hands of a battle mage couldn't be taken lightly. Take Du Ming right now, for example. He didn't dare to just wildly trade blows with his opponent using his Blade Master's low-level skills. His account's skill build wasn't just thrown together haphazardly. He had built his character according to his usual habits, with careful choices and synergies. Unable to meet force with force, Du Ming had no choice but to keep dodging. And so, this battle witnessed a truly historic moment. The Berserker Du Ming, in a match, wasn't the one launching the attacks. He wasn't even trading blows. Instead, he was purely on the defensive, biding his time for a counter-strike. This state of affairs persisted for several minutes. Du Ming simply couldn't find an opening to counterattack, constantly being led and suppressed by his opponent's relentless assault. If the audience still couldn't tell this challenger was something special by now, then they simply didn't understand glory. Even if this was an exhibition match, and even if Du Ming was intentionally holding back, it shouldn't have been this exaggerated. Running around like a mouse fleeing a cat from start to finish, it just looked pathetic.